Welcome back to the Big Weekend Show. So tomorrow, America will mark 22 years now since the 9/11 terror attacks. But President Biden won't be anywhere near Ground Zero or the Pentagon or Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Biden will be at a military base in Alaska on his way back from his overseas trip. That means that he's going to be the first president ever since 9/11 to not be at one of the ceremonies at one of the attack sites or at the White House. Peter Doocy sharing what NSA coordinator for strategic communications John Kirby told him about Biden's apparent snub.
It's just strategically so important that he's trying to do both. While he's in this part of the world, he thought it was that important to come here to Vietnam. I was talking to a White House official, and I asked about why is he missing it? And this official that I talked to said, well, 22 years after Pearl Harbor, the United States presidents weren't still going to Hawaii every year. And so I think there is an effort to, still mark the anniversary, but also kind of move on.
Wow. So, Guy, I'll start with you. 22 years, after one of the most horrific attacks on U.S. soil, and we just move on?
I don't. No, we don't.
I
lived in this area, grew up in this area. My town lost about a dozen people. My next door neighbor, thank God, got out of one of the towers. My father had been under the towers commuting that morning. So it's a day every year that is still very difficult. Look, I understand that we do a lot of criticizing of President Biden on this show at this network. I think it's generally very well-deserved criticism. I get what they're doing here. Strategically being at the G20 and then going to some key allies in another part of the world, that is important for a president. That being said, I think the president of the United States needs to be in this city or in Washington, D.C. or in that field in Pennsylvania on 9/11. I think this is a mistake. Yeah,
or at least the message could have been different. They could have messaged this a little bit differently than just, we're just trying to move on.
Let's just call it what it is. 90% of the people who died on 9/11 were from New York and New Jersey. You cannot go around without talking to someone who knows someone who died in the towers in this area. The president's going to Alaska, in my opinion, because he just canceled the oil leases. And this is just another way for him to appease his climate agenda people by going to Alaska. And I think this is a complete snub to the 9/11 families and victims. You have them right now undergoing, you have the criminal trials going on, and there's a back and forth whether or not they're going to seek the death penalty. It is very clear that President Biden does not have the 9/11 families and victims at heart at all.
You know, Jimmy, we were just all talking about the fact that we used to see the spotlight of the Twin Towers in New York City for days before. It was quite a sight, and it was a good way to remind everyone and get in the mood of just remembering all those victims. It's gone. Apparently, now I'm hearing it's only going to be on 9/11, those spotlights.
Yeah.
Are people just moving on? Like, are we just forgetting what happened?
I don't think anybody here is. I don't think anybody who was, affected by what went on that day. My brother's a city cop. He was there. Thankfully, he was okay. But what we're seeing here, and we've seen it on other fronts when it comes to the Bidens, is that the pitch made to voters about who this man, what his character was, is a lie. Do you remember the famous tweet from Jill Biden in October of 2020? Empathy is on the ballot. Okay, empathy's on. You're voting Biden because you're getting empathy back into the. Also, we're skipping 9/11. Empathy's on the ballot, but sorry, we're skipping 9/11. Everything we've been told, like, I'm going to unite the country. And then what did he tell you? Georgia's voter ID law was Jim Crow on steroids. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. MAGA's semi-fascist. Biden's a fraud. We didn't forget 9/11. The White House might have, but we still got you.
We are not forgetting 9/11. We will be here, and we will cover the 22nd anniversary.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.